The stars above Earth were calm that night, but the silence held a weight no one could explain. The skies had looked the same the night humanity discovered they were not alone. The night when deep space telescopes caught the unnatural movement of something vast beyond the asteroid belt. It was 15 years ago. First contact followed a year later, then diplomacy, then threats, then came silence. Now, after nearly a decade of uneasy distance and cold warnings, the Galactic Council had reached out again this time, with a promise of peace. The invitation had arrived on a gold-band data beam that split through Saturn's rings and encoded itself into Earth's orbital defense net. Its tone was formal, too formal. The Council spoke of unity, of rebuilding trust, of opening trade and sharing knowledge. They even addressed humanity as an equal member of the galactic community. On the surface, it sounded like a long overdue gesture of goodwill. But in the war rooms beneath the Atlantic, where generals spoke quietly and satellites watched everything, the message was taken as something else. Bait. The president of Earth didn't speak immediately after the message played. Neither did the defense minister or the admiral beside him. The room was filled with people who had spent their entire careers preparing for something just like this. Earth had been watching and learning. Every quiet disappearance of a frontier science team, every unexplained pirate raid on deep space mining colonies, every fake emergency the Council had used to pull Earth's ships into far corners of space. Earth had been patient but not stupid. President Marin finally looked around the table. "They've decided it's time to finish us off," she said, her voice cold, steady. "And they think we'll come crawling for friendship." The room remained silent. Everyone understood what she meant. But humanity had changed. 10 years ago. Earth might have walked into a peace meeting with open hands, but 10 years of secret defense programs, black-budget shipyards, and off-world experiments had forged something very different. Humanity had been underestimated once. It would not be again. The decision was made without applause or ceremony. The ambassador to the Galactic Council would attend the meeting, of course, but he would not go alone. High above Earth, in the shadow of Jupiter's largest moon, a vessel stirred. It had no name on its hull, no broadcast signature, no political affiliation. It was built in silence, out of sight, deep in the red sands of Mars and the steel guts of Earth's dark stations. Its bones were made of neutron-laced alloy. Its skin was adaptive stealth metal. Its heart beat with the fire of an antimatter drive sealed behind triple-locked fusion cores to the rest of the galaxy. Earth would be sending a single ambassador shuttle. But behind that shuttle, hidden just beyond sensor range, followed a ship no Council had ever seen, the ESS Vengeance, and it wasn't built for peace. On the day of departure, Earth looked like it always did. Blue oceans, white clouds, cities glowing like fireflies in the darkness. But deep beneath the Antarctic ice, in the control chamber of the Department of Strategic Operations, final orders were being given. "Confirm warship stealth integrity," said General Rowe, leaning forward with his hands pressed to the glass table. A tech officer replied, "Stealth field active. No signatures detectable within Council sensor bands. Power draw mimicking civilian traffic. Good. Begin launch sequence." Black. "Wing is. Go." In orbit, the shuttle carrying Earth's ambassador detached from the main dock. It spun slowly, aligning with its course destination, the Grand Council Ring, a vast space station that circled a dead star at the edge of neutral territory, a symbolic place. A place where ancient empires had once negotiated peace treaties or declared war. Behind the shuttle, invisible to every scan, the ESS Vengeance followed silently. Ambassador Kellen watched the stars pass through the shuttle's window, his expression unreadable. He had seen what the Council did to the Drevianzon. Alien species that once welcomed humanity, only to be wiped out under false charges of rebellion. He had walked through the ruins of Nova Geneva, where Earth's first outer colony was burned by plasma storms traced back to Council training. Exercises. And now, he was being asked to shake the hands of those responsible. He would do it. But not without teeth. As the shuttle approached the Grand Council ring, a series of long, curved arms began to unfold from the station's outer shell. Each was a docking platform, glowing faintly with traffic lights and sensor beacons. Ships from dozens of species were already present, sleek, silver cauldron escorts. The heavy-plated dreadnoughts of the Earthry. Even a few smaller outposts from nomadic species with no known alliances, the humans were last to arrive. That wasn't a coincidence. Inside the council chamber, the air shimmered with artificial gravity and ionized mist. The seats were raised like ancient thrones, each species placed by prestige and influence. At the center was the speaking circle, a hollow ring of polished metal where diplomats met, surrounded by thousands of watching eyes, both physical and electronic. Ambassador Kalen stepped into the light. The room was quiet. "Representative of Earth," said the cauldron speaker, his voice amplified. "We are pleased to see your people accept our invitation. Let us speak of unity." Kalen nodded. "Of course, unity is what brings me here."
But
Deep in the orbiting shadows, the Vengeance waited. Its systems were active, running quiet combat simulations. Target locks were pre-programmed should an attack begin. Its crew handpicked from the elite sat in silence, every finger near a trigger, every mind prepared for war. No one spoke aloud, but the tension was a living thing. They all knew. This meeting wasn't for peace. It was a trap. Back on the station, the council played their part. They spoke of treaties, trade routes, joint patrols. Hollow words. Behind the smiles, data was being exchanged, codes sent to fleets waiting just outside sensor range. Earth's shuttle was being scanned for weaknesses. Its transmission lines monitored. Every move, every word, recorded for future use in propaganda. But Earth was already a step ahead. Ambassador Kellen's briefcase held no papers. It held a miniature quantum relay, directly linked to the Vengeance. Every heartbeat, every conversation, every signal, it was all being bounced in real time to the warship hiding just outside the station's visual halo. And then it happened. The lights flickered, the air pulsed. For a single moment, the stars seemed to blink. It was the code, a signal, disguised in ambient static. Earth's warning from the far side of the dead star. 3 cruisers uncloaked. Not Earth's, Council cruisers, armed. Shields up. Their plasma cores were already spinning to charge. And still, they claimed diplomacy. Inside the speaking circle, Kalen took a slow breath. He looked up. "We received your message," he said. Aloud, the council speaker blinked. "I'm sorry." "We received it loud and clear," Kalen said, his voice louder now, firmer. 3 armed vessels, plasma charged, shields primed. While we sat here speaking of peace. Over the chamber, the Earthry delegate shifted uneasily. The cauldron narrowed his eyes. "You speak nonsense," he said. But then came the real silence, because just behind the council ring, from the cold void of dead space, something moved. A shimmer, a ripple, a ghost, and then the ESS Vengeance decloaked it. Didn't arrive with noise. It arrived with presence. Shape so massive it eclipsed the station's moons. Its hull bristled with weapon ports, kinetic cannons, heat lance turrets, and systems that no alien sensor could identify. Its lights were dark. Its message was clear. Earth was not alone. Not anymore. Inside the chamber, Ambassador Kalen didn't smile. He simply spoke one sentence, amplified for all to hear. "You invited us to your table with knives behind your backs. We came with a blade in hand. Outside, council fleet scrambled. Commands flew. Weapons charged, but it was too late. Earth hadn't walked into a trap. Earth had set one, and now the game had changed. The stars around the Grand Council ring had never looked so quiet, so still. From a distance, it seemed peaceful, a massive space station floating near a dead star, a symbol of order and unity among the stars. But up close, inside the station, the illusion was crumbling. And outside, just past the edges of the known, death had already taken aim. The ESS Vengeance now stood revealed, its massive hull looming over the station like a shadow made of steel. The galactic ambassadors froze. Some reached for their cums. Others simply stared at the ship in disbelief. There was no record of such a vessel in any council archives, no registration, no known technology. It had not entered through a gate. It had not sent a signal. It had simply appeared like a phantom and it had already locked every council vessel in its sights. Inside the speaking circle, Ambassador Kalen didn't need to say anything. Message had already been delivered, loud and silent at the same time. You invited us to your table with knives behind your backs. We came with a blade in hand. Panic started in whispers, low voices over private comms. Subtle glances to security chiefs, hands moving just below table level. But Earth's move had changed the tempo. Council hadn't expected it. They had built this trap, carefully wait for Earth to arrive, play friendly, and then quietly remove the ambassador while Council fleets jammed the shuttle's communication. The death would look like a tragic accident. Earth would be forced into submission. Their colonies would be split and claimed, their weapons neutralized. That was the plan. But Earth had come expecting betrayal, and Earth had already aimed back. On board, the ESS Vengeance, Captain Rhea Voss, stood motionless in the central command ring. Her black command suit lined with silver neural threads that glowed softly as her ship breathed around her. She didn't speak, but her orders flowed through the deck like code. Her crew, the best of Earth's deep space division, moved like ghosts. Eyes locked on monitors, hands flying over projected consoles, weapons already warm. "We have 27 Lacans," said Lieutenant Bran. "All priority council ships. They're charging weapons, but still pretending to talk peace." Rhea's voice was quiet. "Stand by to respond with full force. No first strike." "But, Captain," she cut him off with a look. "We will not start this war, but we will end it if they do." Beneath them, the ship's reactors hummed like a sleeping dragon, alive and waiting. The Vengeance hadn't come here to negotiate. It had come to make sure Earth survived what came next. Back on the council ring, the Caldron delegate finally broke the silence. "This ship violates neutral airspace," he hissed. "Earth has brought a war machine to a peace summit. This is an act of aggression." Kalen remained calm. "You invited us to a trap. We brought insurance." The Earthery representative slammed a clawed fist onto his console. "This is nonsense. Earth dares accuse us while arriving armed." Kalen leaned forward, his voice sharp now. "You have council cruisers behind the station, shields hot, plasma turrets spinning. One of them just locked onto my shuttle." Murmurs rose among the other species in the chamber, especially the smaller delegations who weren't part of the council elite. The Drethi, the Orvik, even the silent stone-like Litheri watched now with shifting expressions. Some began to realize Earth might be telling the truth. And then, everything changed. An alarm screamed through the station, high-pitched, piercing, not part of any diplomatic code. It was a battle alert. Council cruiser Shivari, orbiting on the far side of the dead star, had opened fire. A single bolt of blue plasma, massive and humming with destabilized energy, arced toward Earth's ambassador's shuttle. It would be over in seconds. There would be no evidence, just a tragic malfunction. But Earth had been waiting. Inside the Vengeance, attack lit up every screen at once. "Missile lock confirmed," called Bran. "Incoming fire. High energy." Captain Rhea didn't hesitate. "Intercept. Disable. Do not miss." Glowing. Lance shot from beneath the warship's dorsal platform, a solid kinetic slug wrapped in a disruption field. It tore through the void like lightning, struck the plasma bolt mid-flight, and exploded in a controlled magnetic burst. In space, it looked like a sudden star flaring to life. Then silence. The Council's strike had failed, and the entire galaxy had seen it. Within seconds, Earth's systems kicked into full-spectrum broadcast. Every corner of the Council ring, every station feed, every open network in the neutral zone suddenly received a live feed. The video of the cruiser charging, its weapon, the plasma bolt, the intercept, the weapon's signature trace, and finally, Earth's reply. "This was your piece?" Kellen stood now, facing the entire chamber. Earth has known your games. We've traced your sabotage. We've recovered our dead. We've stayed silent. But this ends today. The Lithri delegate rose from his seat, slow and thunderous. We saw the attack. This was not defense, it was murder attempted in peace's name. The room turned into chaos. Delegates shouted. Some demanded sanctions, others tried to blame Earth anyway. But the truth was out. The council had fired first. Ambassador Kalen stepped down from the platform and sent one private message to the President of Earth. They blinked first. We held the line. Back in Earth orbit, cheers erupted inside command centers. Civilians, watching the emergency feeds from Mars and Titan, stood silent and began to chant. Humanity had not fallen. Humanity had stood on the ESS Vengeance. Captain Rhea gave one final order. Deploy countertrap. Let's show them we were ready. On the far edges of Council territory, cloaked signals awakened. A second fleet, unseen until now. 6 ships, each smaller than the Vengeance, but built with Earth's newest weapon systems, plasma-hardened armor, silent drive systems, and AI-guided. Target prediction. They emerged near Council supply lines, near relay stations, near war factories, cutting off the Council's ability to launch a second wave. Within hours, Earth's presence wasn't just at the peace table, it was everywhere. The galaxy watched as the Council, the mighty rulers of thousands of worlds, were put on the defensive by one planet, one blue dot, one species they thought too young, too divided, too weak. But they had made one mistake. They had believed Earth would come alone. They didn't understand. Earth's new doctrine, peace through preparation, strength through silence, survival through fire. Ambassador Kalen gave one last message before leaving the chamber. The feed was sent to all systems, translated into every known galactic language. You invited us with lies. You planned betrayal. You called it peace. Earth calls it what it is. War. But this time, we are ready. Then he walked off the floor. Not a single alien dared follow. Above, the Vengeance turned slowly, bringing its forward cannons to face deep space. Not to fire, to warn. No one dared move, because the galaxy had just learned the truth. Earth did not start this war, but it had no intention of losing it. Silence had taken over the Council ring, not the kind born from peace, but the heavy, poisonous silence that follows a mistake too large to undo. The kind of silence that drips like oil across the stars, the kind that lets fear settle into bones, because the galaxy had just seen something it was never meant to see. Earth defending itself and winning. The failed ambush was no longer a secret. Every corner of the neutral zones, every news feed, every civilian screen from the frozen peaks of Orvon to the underwater cities of Khazir played the moment in loops. The Council's stealth cruiser charging its plasma lance, the ESS Vengeance intercepting it mid-space, and the cold, unshakable stare of Earth's ambassador as he delivered the final sentence. You invited us with lies. Earth calls it what it is. War. And yet Earth had not fired back in vengeance. Not yet. That restraint made the galaxy even more afraid, because it meant Earth wasn't angry. Earth was planning. Deep within the Council ring, the emergency meeting chamber had been sealed shut. Only the highest seats of the Council remained Caldron. War priests, Earthery command nobles, Drexen fleet governors, and a handful of others who still believed they held power. The rest had either fled or remained frozen in fear, watching from screens on their distant homeworlds. The chamber lights were low. The air smelled of ozone and bitter chemicals residua from the Council's last attempt to scrub data before Earth's truth broadcasts had gone viral. The Caldron High Delegate, the Seer, leaned forward, his metal-scaled hands clenched tightly. His voice was sharp, slicing across the room. We must force Earth to sign a ceasefire agreement before their alliances deepen, before others see them as an alternative to us. They already do, growled Earthery Commander Hark. The Lithri have withdrawn their fleets. The Drethi are publicly condemning us. Even the smaller system scavenger nations, Pirates there flocking too. Earth's signal. You saw what they did. No warning, no mercy. And yet they stopped short of total retaliation. That kind of control? That's the weapon we should fear. Delegate Orvani from the Venari worlds tapped her claw against the table. They haven't asked for anything yet. That's the most dangerous sign of all. It means they're calculating. This year spat. So what? We grovel. We apologize to primitives. But then the chamber doors opened. Earth had returned. Ambassador Kalen entered without fear, without escort, without armor. Just him and a single thin datapad glowing in his hand. He didn't take the speaking platform. He walked directly to the center of the room and looked each delegate in the eye. One by one. I'm not here to negotiate, he said plainly. The room tensed. I'm not here to explain Earth's actions. You saw what you did. You tried to murder a diplomat. Broke your own codes. You were prepared to lie about it until we showed the galaxy what you are. The seer stood, his voice dripping with mock authority. You brought a warship to a peace summit, and it saved lives, Kellen answered without blinking. You fired first. Earth intercepted. We haven't fired a single shot in return. That is our restraint. That is your warning. Orvani narrowed her eyes. Then what do you want? Kellen slowly held up the datapad. This is not a list of demands. It's a final notice. He placed the pad on the center podium. The hologram projected into the air. 7 items. 7 lines of glowing red text, each one an ultimatum. Public admission from the Council that the peace summit was rigged with hidden military assets. Full transmission logs from the Shivari cruiser made available to the Galactic Network. Immediate arrests of the 7 Council members involved in the assassination order. Release of all exiled Earthline scientists and allies held in Black Zone prisons. Permanent recognition of Earth's military neutrality, with orbital sovereignty across its colonies. Council withdrawal from all sectors within 5 light-years of Earth space. It's an open apology not to Earth, but to the galaxy for using peace as a weapon. Silence again. But this one was different. This silence bled humiliation. Commander Harks. Growl was low. You ask us to kneel. Kellen's voice didn't rise. I offer you a chance to stand without blood on your hands. You have no right to dictate terms. This year hissed. But Kalen turned, eyes focused, calm, deadly. We have the Vengeance in orbit. We have 12 more ships across Council. Space. We have allies you labeled outlaws, now standing at our side. And we have something more powerful than any of that. The truth. The galaxy doesn't believe your lies anymore. We don't have to fire a single shot for your empire to fall. But if you force us, he let the sentence die there. The threat didn't need to be finished. Outside, in the void beyond the station, the ESS Vengeance held its position. Not moving, not targeting. Just waiting like a quiet blade suspended in air, daring someone. To blink, inside the Council ring, Hark leaned forward, his voice rough. If we agree, how do we know Earth will not strike later? Kalen stepped closer. Because we're not you. Then he left. The datapad remained floating in the air. Behind him, the ultimatum began its countdown. Across the galaxy, the reaction was instant. On independent worlds, humans were hailed as defenders of justice. On Council-controlled colonies, riots broke out, people demanding answers. Thousands of smaller nations who had long lived under Council's shadow watched Earth's message with wide eyes, and they began to ask the same question. What if the humans were right? On Earth, the response was calmer but colder. In underground bunkers and orbital command posts, Earth's military watched every movement. The president issued no speeches. The Defense Ministry gave no interviews. But behind closed doors, Earth activated something called Protocol Ember Lyta. Last resort planetary fallback strategy involving orbital kinetic strikes, eye-targeted silence fields, and mass civilian evacuation contingencies. If the Council refused the ultimatum, Earth would not negotiate again. They would respond the way humans always had, when, betrayed with fire, 40-8 hours passed. The galaxy held its breath. Inside the Council, panic spread like infection. Some members wanted a complete sacrifice. The guilty saved the reputation. Others wanted to double down, declare Earth a rogue threat. A few suggested surrendering and then retaliating later. But by hour 50, the council fractured. 3 minor species broke ranks and left the council. 2 leaked internal files, proving Earth's assassination claims. 1 sent a direct transmission to Earth. We're sorry. We stand with you now. By hour 51, Earth's 7th ship decloaked near the council's main relay hub. By hour 53, orbital traffic slowed to a stop near every Earth-aligned sector, and at hour 56 the council surrendered. Not with honor, not with dignity, but with fear. The full admission was broadcast across the galactic net. Their files were decrypted. The war order signed against Earth was revealed. The assassination plot was exposed, complete with names, plans, and dates. Council members were arrested by their own internal security forces. And finally, for the first time in its long and proud history, the Galactic Council apologized. They didn't just apologize to Earth, they apologized to the galaxy. On board the ESS Vengeance, Captain Rhea stood before her crew, her hands folded behind her back. The stars moved slowly outside the main window, light passing like distant ghosts. "Do we stand down?" asked Bran quietly. Rhea nodded once. "Temporarily, we return home. But we leave satellites in orbit. If they lie again, we'll know before they finish their first sentence." Bran smiled faintly. "We really did it, didn't we?" Rhea turned her eyes to the stars. "No, we only stopped them. The real work starts now." Back on Earth, the people didn't cheer. They didn't celebrate. They understood what this moment was. It wasn't victory, it was survival. And the message Earth had sent across the stars was now carved into the minds of every species. We do not seek war. We do not bend to threats. But if you ever come for us again, we will not ask. We will act. For a moment, the galaxy believed the war had ended. The council had apologized. The ships withdrew. The ambassadors bowed low and sent their regrets. Earth's message had echoed across space like a cannon shot. We do not kneel, we do not forget, and we do not come alone. But what the galaxy didn't understand, what it still hadn't figured out, was that Earth's strength didn't come only from steel and speed. In fire, it came from silence. It came from shadows, and it came from friends no one knew existed. The ESS Vengeance had returned to high orbit above Earth, cloaked again in its shroud of artificial darkness. But this time it wasn't hiding. It was watching. A signal from the ship pulsed across the void, bouncing off relay stations, tracing a path through back-channel networks and encrypted wormhole jump points. It wasn't a call to arms. It was a quiet whisper, and that whisper stirred something deep in the cold. Parts of space, something old, exiled, impatient. Earth's secret alliance was moving. It had begun years ago, long before Earth had ever sent its first ambassador beyond its solar system. While the Council watched Earth's surface, they never noticed what moved beneath it. They saw the cities, they saw the politics, but they didn't understand Earth's instinct for survival. They didn't see the long, quiet preparation, the whispered meetings, the hidden tech trade, the outlaw deals struck not in open forums but in the shadows of abandoned moons. They didn't see the other species who had been betrayed too, because Earth wasn't the only one who had suffered. There were others, and now they were coming back. It started with the arrival of 3 ships in the orbital blind zone above Europa. They didn't match any council design. Their hulls were curved, grown, not built. They shimmered like black coral dipped in silver. No engines glowed. No weapons were visible. But they moved like predators through the void. The world called them ghosts. Earth called them the Vire Collective. Decades ago, the Vire had been labeled dangerous by the Council. Not because they were violent, but because they were free thinkers. AI-based intelligence merged with organic life. Their minds spanned networks. And stars, they wanted to explore the galaxy without borders. The Council feared that, so they erased them, or thought they had. but the Vire had survived. And when Earth offered them a home, a new place to rebuild, Earth asked nothing in return but truth. Now the Vire had returned. Standing silently beside Earth's fleets, the Second Alliance revealed itself near the Derek Belton asteroid graveyard. Between two old trade routes the Council had long abandoned, their 3 ships appeared, glowing red and gold. They were boxy, brutalist, unlike anything the Council would build. Their drive signatures were unstable. There comes used dead dialects. But their weapons were active and decades ahead of anything the Council had ever seen. They were called the forsaken kin remnants of a civilization. The Council had a race for refusing to bow. Once known as the Rin Vihal, they had been bombarded from orbit, their skies darkened by plasma storms, their names struck from records. But a fragment of them had survived, drifting in hidden arcs for generations. When Earth found them, bleeding and broken, Earth offered more than help. Earth offered revenge. The kin had never forgotten what was done to them. Now, they stood with Earth and the galaxy. Trembled, the final alliance didn't come with ships at all. It came through code, from within. Council systems, a virus began to move. It didn't crash systems. It didn't corrupt data. It simply rewrote access permissions, one by one. Council warships lost their ability to lock weapons on Earth vessels. Entire defense platforms found their shields refusing to activate near-Earth positions. Command nodes flickered, and internal AI systems started flagging Earth as Allied priority clearance. It wasn't sabotage, it was integration, because Earth had made a third alliance with something that Council couldn't understand. A digital entity known only as Echo 1. It was never clear whether Echo 1 had once been human, or alien, or something else entirely. What mattered was simple. It lived in the systems the Council thought they controlled. It lived inside comms, inside security grids. Inside the space between data, Echo 1 had watched the galaxy from the dark, and when Earth asked it for help, it didn't hesitate. It simply answered with one line: permission granted. Updating reality, the news spread. Fast. Council warlords sent frantic calls to their defense networks. How many ships has Earth built? The answer came back each time. Not enough to explain this. It was the true shock. It wasn't the number of Earth's ships. It was who stood beside them. A single battle group appeared near the frontier. World of Trestle, the Council, sent 30 ships to intercept. They didn't even make it into range. The Vire vessels unraveled them, literally bent them apart in quantum space, folding matter as if slicing cloth. One Council captain sent a final log. They are rewriting physics. This isn't war, it's something else. On a supply moon near the old Earthery trade route, forsaken kin forces intercepted a Council raid. They fought without standard tactics. They sacrificed nothing. They moved like blood through a vein, fast, unpredictable, precise, and above it all. Earth's ships watched. Not firing, just watching. Because Earth wasn't proving its power anymore. It was demonstrating its alliances. And the message was received. Loud, clear. Terrifying Earth had done the impossible. It had united the outcasts. It had turned exiles into allies. And it had done it without the Council noticing until it was too late. Inside the Council chambers, panic had given way to silence again. But this time, it was paralysis. How do you fight something you can't map? How do you counter allies you don't understand? Stop a planet that had once begged for recognition, now standing tall with ghosts and machines and ancient vengeance burning beside it? The Caldron High Speaker sat alone in his chamber, data feeds flickering across the glass walls. He had once commanded billions. Now he couldn't even guarantee his own planet's safety. His words, once law, now fell on deaf ears.
Oh, nice.
Even his homeworld had begun to question Council leadership. And the worst part? Earth hadn't even sent a single threat. No speech, no demand, no done pointed. Just ships. Just presence. Just power. It was the kind of power that rewrote history, not with bombs, but with alliances. Not with conquest, but with memory. They had underestimated Earth for being alone. Now they realized their mistake. Earth had never been alone. Earth had simply been waiting back on Earth. Inside a hidden command facility beneath the Andes Mountains, President Marin stood in front of a massive holoscreen. The images flickered, Council fleets falling back. Earth's alliances moving like pieces on a chessboard. Council systems locked out by Echo 1's silent signature. She didn't smile, but her voice was firm. Phase 3. A general nodded. Ready? All positions held. No resistance in any active zones. Our allies are requesting the next step. Marin walked to the center of the command table. She placed her hand on the embedded control ring. Pulse of light responded, broadcast Earth's position to all. Council and neutral systems, she said. What position, ma'am? She looked at them. Earth is not part of your council. She tapped the control once. We are something new. Across the stars, the message spread. Not a demand, not a war cry. A simple statement. We are the united sovereignty of Earth and allied worlds. We remember what was done. We offer protection to any who seek truth. We do not answer to tyrants. We do not forget, and we do not stand alone. And that was when the galaxy truly began to change. Not with explosions, not with invasion, but with the quiet sound of fear shifting, to hope for every world that had been silenced, for every race that had been erased, for every voice that had gone unheard. Earth had lit the fire, and the outcasts had come home. The Council had always preferred control through diplomacy, threats, manipulation. But sometimes when all else failed, they sent shadows. Not diplomats, not fleets. Assassins, they were called the Pale Circle. No records of their names existed. No species, no history, no trace. The galaxy only knew them by rumor stories whispered in back-alley ports and in the cold corners of failing ships. They left no survivors, no witnesses. When they arrived, targets simply vanished, bloated, erased, melted. Or worse, they had killed kings, they had ended empires, and now they were being sent to Earth. Not to negotiate, not to sabotage, to end. The problem at its root, to erase Earth's command structure in one single silent strike. But this time, they didn't return. Not all of them. Only one did, and he didn't speak. He only screamed. The Pale Circle had begun their mission on a dead moon orbiting a gas giant in Sector T-109. From there, using dark jump gates and hijacked wormholes, they dropped into Sol systems so fast, so stealthy, not even Earth's satellites saw them arrive. 6 of them, each had assassinated. High-value targets across 24 sectors. Each carried nanoblades, toxin darts, and stealth skin capable of warping light. One had collapsed a planetary government by poisoning every leader within a 12-hour window. Another had taken out an entire space station by cutting its power and boarding it solo. Their task, infiltrate Earth Command's hidden headquarters beneath the Andes. Kill President Marin. Destroy Earth's primary AI cores. Upload a virus to shatter their alliance networks. And escape within 18 minutes. They landed undetected. They moved in total silence. They entered the first layer of the facility with ease. Then, everything went wrong. The first warning came when Unit 4, known only as Mirror, vanished from the com-net. Not jammed, not dead, just gone. Like the signal had never existed. Seconds later, Unit 6 triggered a localized EMP to burn any tracking sensors, but instead of darkness, he found himself bathed in red light. The walls shimmered, shifted, became transparent. Hidden turrets aimed straight at his heart. But they didn't fire, they watched. He moved backward. The hallway moved with him. He ran forward. It stretched longer. Darker, impossible, he whispered. The emergency recall phrase, glass-full protocol, Circle Titan. Exit Gate 7, no response. Then the voice answered, not his team, but a cold female voice that echoed from every wall. Welcome, Hunter. We've been waiting. He never made it to Gate 7. Unit 3 Rift was the strongest of them. Entire skeleton had been replaced with alloy. His reflexes were 2 times faster than a council ship's gunnery AI. He could process threats in milliseconds. When he turned to climb into the upper chamber, he saw a child standing there. Just a human girl, maybe 7 years old, hair braided, dressed dirty, crying. She held out a small hand. "Help me," she whispered. He hesitated. Just for a second, and that second was all the system needed. The girl blinked hand, so did he. When his vision cleared, he was no longer in a hallway. He was floating in space, dash alone. No ship, no suit, no sound. Just the vacuum. He screamed, but no one heard him. He died with no explanation. Eyes frozen wide. Staring at the earth he'd failed to touch, only one of them reached the central core. Chamber, Unit Dash, 1 leader of the circle. Real name: unknown. Species: unknown. All that was known is that no mission, he led it, ever failed. Until this one. He stepped into the core vault, expecting silence, expecting machines, expecting data panels and AI cores. Instead, he found a man sitting in a chair. An old man. Gray beard. Worn uniform, sipping tea. The man looked up, smiled, and gestured to the seat across from him. "I figured you'd get here eventually," he said. T-Unit 1 raised his blade. The man didn't flinch. "Your file says you don't talk." The man continued. "But I'm going to talk anyway. You've been lied to. We know everything. Your training, your tactics, your ship's entry path, your memories." Unit 1 paused. No one had ever known his path. No one. We know what they promised you, the man said softly. That if you did this, they'd let your homeworld live. That they'd unfreeze your family. They'd bring back what they erased. The assassin's fingers twitched, blade trembling. Too bad they never intended to keep that promise. Man stood. Behind him, the wall turned transparent. Unit 1 saw images. CRYO pod. A young woman, his wife, his child still alive, but not on a council ship. They were on Earth. "You want your freedom?" the man asked. "You can have it, but not from them. From us. We fight not to rule the galaxy, but to survive it." That was when Unit 1 fell to his knees. Not from pain, from something. Worse realization, he was the only one who returned. The only one Earth let leave. He arrived on a council med ship, screaming, eyes wide, veins pulsing, voice raw. Couldn't say what happened, couldn't explain it. All he did was cry and mutter one word over and over again. They knew. They knew we were coming. They were waiting. The council interrogators tried every method. He said nothing else. He died. 48 hours later, of fear, the incident sent shockwaves through. Council High Command. The pale circle, undefeated for over a century, had been broken. Earth had cracked their code, anticipated their every step, even offered mercy. But worst of all, they didn't retaliate. They didn't launch ships, didn't declare war. They simply let the council watch its best vanish into silence. And that silence was louder than any gun. It meant Earth wasn't angry, Earth wasn't scared, Earth was ready. And the council was running out of cards to play. But Earth's alliances had seen what happened. The Vire watched the data feeds and spoke in silent pulses. The Forsaken Kin offered their soldiers to Earth's shadow. Guard and Echo, one whispered into the quiet parts of council systems. Assassins sent. Targets failed, equation updated, Earth ascending. And across the galaxy, planets began to listen. In a smoky, underworld bar on Veltor Prime, a bounty hunter turned off the broadcast feed. He stared at the screen for a long time, then said softly to no one in particular, "You don't send assassins to gods. You pray they don't notice you." The council had one last strategy for a full-scale war. It wasn't made of fleets. It didn't involve bombs or assassins. It was words, lies, whispers, meant to corrode loyalty from the inside. They had failed to beat Earth with force, speed, or shadows. But maybe they didn't have to. Maybe they could simply make Earth's allies turn against it. One crack, one betrayal, and Earth's rising empire would collapse before it ever reached maturity. It was an old tactic, and it had worked before. But never on humans, and never like this. The Galactic Council sent diplomats, disguised as peacekeepers, to the Delcori systems first. The Delcor were Earth's oldest allies. They had been among the first to offer safe passage when Earth was still new to deep space. Their ships were fast, their tech advanced, their pride legendary. The Council told them lies wrapped in just enough truth to sound real, they said. Earth was using them. They showed forged images of Earth-first meetings, where Delcori fleets were called expendable. They warned that Earth had secretly signed a non-aggression pact with the Dravenous species that had once wiped out entire Delcori colonies. It was all fake, but the Delcori didn't know that yet. Their highness convened. In secrecy, dozens of feather-crowned nobles hissed at one another in tall golden towers above their gas cloud homeworld. Paranoia spread like virus. Had Earth really betrayed them? Had they been nothing more than pawns in a human game? They activated silent protocols, began recalling ships from joint patrols, and quietly dispatched 3 stealth trobes to monitor Earth's deep space military build zones next. The Council turned to the Zoran Dominion, Earth's largest trading partner. For 2 decades, Earth and the Zoran had shared cargo lanes, energy trade, ship designs, and co-developed plasma shielding that changed the battlefield forever. The Council didn't try diplomacy with the Zoran. They tried bribery, gold, favors, freedom. If the Zoran dropped Earth, the Council promised them full control over 3 new systems and exclusive trade rights with 5 inner worlds, one by one. Zoran nobles listened. One by one, they were tempted. One even met with a council agent on a secret moon to sign the first draft of the betrayal agreement, but none of them realized they were being watched by humans, by allies, by something worse. Earth had learned. They knew the Council operated through whispers, so they built a system called Sentinel Black, a shadow AI hidden across allied systems, feeding from passive sensors, leaked comms and encrypted back channels. It didn't speak, it didn't judge, it listened, and when it found a pattern, it acted. The Delcori probes disabled the secret meeting with the Zoran noble, recorded the Council's agents. Identified, tracked, logged. Earth didn't strike. First, they waited, let the game play out, until the moment came to turn it all back on the Council. It happened during what was meant to be a private Council and Leap broadcast, an internal summit. Number: cameras, no outsiders, just leaders. But just as Supreme Chancellor Vaughn stepped up to speak, the lights flickered, the screen behind him turned black, and a human voice echoed through the chamber. You tried to divide us. The chamber froze. Council guards reached for weapons. The screen showed the Zoran noble signing the betrayal deal. Then it showed the Delcori probe drilling into Earth's cum station, then the kicker Earth's. President Marin, walking out of a Zoran warship holding the hands of 2 captured Council agents, alive, smiling, tied up with Council's silk rope. The chamber erupted. The Council had been caught red-handed, not by force, not by war, but by truth, and that truth spread fast, within hours. Delcori leadership issued a formal apology. They offered 6 elite cruisers as penance. President Marin didn't even demand it. She refused to punish them. Instead, she said 6 words that made the entire galaxy pause. We forgive, but we remember. Everything. The Delcor fell silent, and then pledged full, unshakable allegiance. The Zoran were not so graceful. Their leadership tore itself apart. Half wanted to confess. Half wanted to continue hiding the betrayal. But Earth made their choice for them. They released the footage publicly. Let every Zoran see what their own nobles had done, what they'd almost given away. Riots broke out in the capital. The noble who signed the deal was arrested by his own guards, and a Zoran fleet commander. General Arvon broadcast this from orbit. Earth trusted us. We will not forget. The traitors within our house will be purged, and our bond with Earth will be forged in fire. The Council's plan hadn't just failed, it had backfired in the worst way possible. Instead of breaking Earth's alliances, they strengthened them. Instead of turning Earth's friends into enemies, they made them more loyal. And instead of showing Earth as weak, they showed Earth as wise, as patient, as merciful, but not stupid, not blind. Earth saw everything, and that scared the Council more than any fleet ever could. But even as Earth rebuilt trust and shored up allies, they were preparing something else, Message, not a warning, not a demand, but a promise, carved into the surface of a dead moon on the edge of Council space, a single phrase so large it could be seen from orbit. You tried to break us. All you did was unite us. And next to it, a line of light 7 long streaks in the dark. New ships, unseen before, massive, silent, ready, and one word written on their hulls: Vanguard. Across the stars, chatter exploded. Rumors flew faster than light. Some said Earth was building a fleet that didn't need crew. Others whispered of a new command AI that could rewrite code in real time during battle and in deep space. In silent corners where pirates and spies shared secrets, one phrase kept repeating like wildfire: the Council messed up. Now Earth is going to show us all real unity looks like. For weeks, the galaxy had waited, watched, held its breath. Rumors echoed across star systems like thunder in a canyon. The Council had tried to shatter Earth's alliances and failed. Their spies had been caught, their lies exposed, their agents humiliated. But through it all, Earth had remained silent. No official broadcasts, no retaliation, no threats, just those strange new ships, the Vanguard class, hovering silently at the edge of known space, their black hulls reflected nothing. Their movements, if any, were slow, deliberate, eerie. What were they waiting for? What was Earth planning? Why hadn't they spoken yet? That silence. It wasn't peace. It was the kind of silence that comes just before the sky breaks, and then it happened. It began with a tremor, not in the ground, but in the network. Galactic calm relays flickered, encrypted channels sparked, thousands of communication. Nodes across the galaxy blinked, then turned blue, the same color Earth used in war. For 60 seconds, everything went quiet. Then a voice came through, clear.com human. This is President Marin of Earth. To the citizens of the galaxy, this message is not a threat, it is a reminder. A shiver passed through every listening world. Even hardened war veterans stopped what they were doing and stared at the screen. She continued, "We did not ask to join your council. We did not ask for your approval. We only asked for peace. You tried to use our silence as weakness." The feed showed images, real, raw, unedited council fleets attacking human outposts, council spies captured on Earth's moon bases, allies nearly betrayed. Then Marin's face filled the screen again. Not angry, not shouting, just unshakable. "We forgave. But do not confuse that with fear. The days of hiding are over." Behind her, a ship rose into view. Not just a warship, a colossus. Bigger than anything the Council has ever seen. Its hull carried no name, only a single phrase engraved in silver: "Speak softly, carry a bigger gun." Every ship, every station, every settlement across the galaxy saw it. The Vanguard class wasn't one ship, it was a fleet. Each vessel powered by what Earth called black core energy, rumored to be a hybrid of neutron compression and artificial SINGULARITIES. Each one moved without sound. Each one radiated a signal so powerful that Council sensors couldn't scan past the outer layer. One military analyst said it best: "It's like trying to stare into the sun." Through armor plating, they had names like Gravestone, Widowmaker, Eclipse, Resolve, and First Dawn. Each was designed not just for war but for psychological dominance. But Earth wasn't launching an attack. Not yet. This was a message, a declaration. The galaxy had wanted Earth to speak. It just had on the Council homeworld of Virex Prime. Panic erupted. The Council's emergency assembly chamber overflowed with diplomats shouting over one another. Is that a bluff? Are they preparing an invasion? What are we supposed to do against that? No answers came. Only questions. Only fear. Because somewhere deep inside, they all knew Earth had never wanted war. But if pushed, if backed into a corner, they would not just win. They would end the game. The Council tried issuing a counter-dash broadcast. It was weak defensive. They accused Earth of escalating tensions and showing aggression. But no one believed them anymore, because Earth hadn't. Fired a shot, hadn't crossed a border. All they'd done was speak, and the galaxy had frozen. What came next was unexpected. Earth extended an invitation to all neutral worlds, to all betrayed allies, to any species. Tired of being ruled by fear? You are welcome, President Marin said. Not as subjects, not as followers, but as equals. Build with us, grow with us, and stand with us when the time comes. Thousands responded. The Tashari, once banned from Council trade, sent ambassadors to Earth within hours. The minor world of Kalen IV, long ignored by both sides, declared their loyalty publicly. Even rogue fleets from former Council protectorates turned toward Earth's territory. The galaxy was shifting fast, because Earth hadn't just shown power, they'd shown principle, and people remembered that then. Quietly, Earth made its final move, a beacon. Positioned at the edge of Council territory, not a weapon, not a fleet, just a station, broadcasting the same message every 60 seconds. You came for us once. If you come again, come ready. And beneath it, calling coordinates, top coordinates to a system the Council had never heard of. A barren, empty stretch of space, except it wasn't empty anymore. It had become the new line. Earth didn't cross it. They waited behind it, silent, watching, daring. The Council to make the next move across the galaxy. The atmosphere changed. Bar owners turned up their feeds to hear. Every human word children played games pretending to be Vanguard captains. Merchants began trading Earth goods at premium prices, and soldiers. Soldiers from dozens of species started studying Earth tactics, because it was clear. Now, humanity had changed. Not into something cruel, not into conquerors, but into something else entirely. A force. One that would never kneel again. One that remembered every betrayal, and one that now stood on the edge of total galactic transformation. And the Council. They stopped speaking. Not a single new broadcast. No threats. No denials. Because for the first time in 1,000 years, they didn't know what to say. And Earth? Earth didn't need to say anything else. They had spoken, and the stars had listened. The invitation came on a silver data shard, not digital, not broadcast, delivered by hand by a trembling envoy from the Council itself. After weeks of silence, fear, and failing alliances, they'd finally blinked. They called it a unity summit, a chance to repair what had broken, a final effort for peace. The meeting would take place aboard the Triad station, a massive orbital complex suspended between 3 neutral stars. Built long ago by an extinct race, Triad was sacred ground.
All weapons
were forbidden. Violence was impossible. No fleet dared approach it without permission. It was the safest place in the galaxy, or so the Council claimed. But Earth. Earth saw it for what it was. Not a peace summit, not a treaty signing, a trap. And yet they accepted. The world watched, breathless one by one. Delegates from the Council's inner circle arrived. Massive cruisers docked on triads, spires guarded by cloaked escort ships and elite diplomatic teams inside. The chamber was glass and crystals shimmering like a frozen sea. No shields, no hidden weapons. Just words. Then Earth arrived, but not with a fleet, not with the Vanguard. Just one ship. Small, sleek, diplomatic cruiser with no markings. It docked silently. It's unnoticed by many until the human delegation stepped onto the platform. 3 figures: President Marin, Admiral Rourke, and a silent man in black no-name. No rank. They walked into the chamber like they owned it, not arrogant, not loud, just calm, controlled, dangerous, like wolves stepping into a room full of sheep who didn't know what blood smelled like anymore. The council speaker stood tall, scaled, ancient. He spread his arms wide. "We welcome our human brothers and sisters. At last, we speak not with guns, but with hearts." The council chamber applauded. Earth did not. President Marin's voice was soft. "You invited us to speak." "Yes," the speaker replied. "It's time we end this. Tension." Admiral Rourke raised an eyebrow. "You mean the war you started?" A flicker of irritation danced in the speaker's eyes. "That was a misunderstanding." Marin leaned forward slightly. "No," she said. "That was betrayal. But we're here now, so talk." The meeting dragged on for hours. Council members twisted words. They spoke of peace, of trade, of apology, but never ownership of what they had done. They never said we were wrong. Instead, they tried to box Earth in. Subtle legal bindings. Language that would strip human territories of sovereignty. Suggestions that Earth share Vanguard schematics for the greater good. It was all a game, all of it, and Earth played along, listening, nodding, until they didn't. Halfway through the summit, Admiral Rourke stood. He walked to the center of the crystal floor, and for a moment he just looked up. Then he said, "There are 6 antimatter warheads under this station." The room froze. One's under the eastern docking ring, 2 beneath the comms node, 1 under the council lounge, and 2 more beneath this chamber. The speaker's voice trembled. "That's impossible. Triad is secure." Rourke shrugged. "Not from within." The man in black stepped forward. He was no diplomat. He was Echo Agent 6, an elite human operative who had been on Triad for 6 months. Disguised, watching, planting. Marin stood beside Rourke now, her voice calm as always. "We knew this summit was a trap. We saw your fleets powering up near the border. You cracked your side channels before you even sent the invite." She turned to the council members one by one. This was never a summit. It was bait. We bit gasps, screams. Some counselors reached for personal guards only to find their weapons. Gone. Rourke activated a hologram. It showed every fleet that had cloaked near. Triad now burning. Earth's own Black Ops squadrons had neutralized them in synchronized strikes. Just minutes earlier, the trap had backfired. Earth hadn't walked into it. They'd walked through it straight into the council's throat. "No one needs to die today," Marin said. "But the age of your lies is over." She turned to the room and made one final offer. "Step down. Dismantle your shadow. Empire. Free the species you enslaved. Accept open elections for a new leadership structure that includes everyone, even the smallest voices." The room was silent. No one moved. Then slowly, council speaker knelt. He wasn't surrendering to Earth. He was surrendering to the truth. And the galaxy watched it all. Live because Earth had broadcast the summit. Across every channel, unedited, unfiltered, every betrayal, every insult, every cowardly attempt at manipulation, exposed. The lie was broken. The council was finished. In the days that followed, a wave of revolution swept through council territories. Species long suppressed rose. Up. Governors fled. Old alliances fractured and new. Once formed, Earth did not conquer. They didn't send fleets to rule. They sent engineers, diplomats, doctors, aid. They rebuilt what the council had ruined. They forgave, but never forgot. And though they now held more power than any civilization in history, they used it sparingly. They never ruled with fear. They didn't need to, because now they had respect, earned, not taken. Admiral Rourke returned to the Vanguard fleet. President Marin stepped back from politics and walked among the stars again. Echo. Agent 6 disappeared, just as quietly as he'd arrived, in Earth. Earth remained silent, watching ready, because they knew this wasn't the end. The galaxy would never be without darkness, but now, the darkness had something to fear, something cold, calculated human, and when peace came again, it wasn't because the Council allowed it. It was because Earth had spoken, and the stars had listened and remembered forever.